Most retirement plans look airtight until long-term care enters quietly and starts draining money meant for protection and independence and choice. Dana thought her plan was safe: strong savings, disciplined investing, thoughtful budgets. Then her mom's fall forced every assumption to change. Long-term care is a financial systems problem dressed like a medical event. It can derail decades of planning in one calendar year. Families watch the markets, inflation, and taxes, yet overlook the expenses that break more retirements than any recession you've ever lived through. This isn't about nursing homes or fear, it's about control. Controlling how care happens, who pays, and what stays protected. When care needs hit, money moves fast and emotionally. Without structure, good people make expensive decisions they never intended to. Our goal is simple: create a plan that funds care responsibly without draining your nest egg or sacrificing your future autonomy. If you've ever wondered, could caring for mom jeopardize our retirement? Well, you're already asking the most financially important question. The earlier you separate feelings from funding mechanics, the easier every future decision becomes when the stakes get real. So, let's replace fear with a framework you can actually run. Clear, practical steps that stand up when life gets messy. You don't need perfect predictions. You need a system that still works when the unpredictable finally shows up. Control isn't luck, it's preparation. And preparation is cheaper than panic. Every single time, in every single market. Most families blend two budgets that should never commingle: living money for retirement and care money for health events. That blend feels harmless until care costs start burning through dollars earmarked for lifestyle, travel, mortgage payoff, and even charitable giving. Dana watched $8,000 of monthly bills evaporate her parents' savings, and within months, she was liquidating positions during down markets. She swore she would never sell into weakness, yet urgency and uncertainty forced the exact decisions she'd promised herself to avoid. People don't simply run out of money, they run out of structure, because without structure, emotions steer withdrawals, taxes, and timing. Crises compress timeframes. You get hours, not months, to decide funding, providers, and who coordinates what among busy siblings. The default path for most families becomes, just pull it from investments, accidentally turning a temporary care need into a permanent retirement setback. That's exactly how good plans unravel, not because the investments failed, but because the sequence and the source of the funding were never defined. Taxes amplify the damage. Unplanned distributions spike brackets, trigger IRMA surprises, and jeopardize future Roth conversion opportunities. Sibling dynamics only add pressure. Without clarity, proximity pays while distance resents. Money decisions become relationship decisions. Most money fights aren't really about money. They're about the absence of agreed-upon roles, accounts, and decision rules. The fix starts earlier. Acknowledge the possibility, define responsibilities, and assign which dollars do what before anyone even needs help. You cannot predict who or when, but you can decide how the money will flow when it happens and from which bucket it'll come from. That pre-decision reduces costs, taxes, and conflict. It keeps your broader retirement strategy intact while care is still provided. Families who do this don't spend less on care. They spend smarter and from the right accounts with minimal distribution elsewhere. The smartest move most families never make is formally separating living money and care money before the first invoice even arrives. Here's the three-part framework I use. Estimate the exposure, fund the gap, protect the plan. It's simple, repeatable, and stress-tested in real life. Estimate the exposure isn't about guessing. It's about scenario planning, likely settings, regional cost, care preferences, and potential duration ranges. Start with your geography. Quality assisted living, memory care, and home health care costs vary widely. Know your local numbers, not national headlines. Be sure to use conservative assumptions. Many regions exceed $90,000 annually for higher acute care, and multi-year durations are common, not rare. Dana modeled 3 years at $85,000 each. That single line item in her plan reframed every other decision with needed seriousness. Next, adjust for inflation and care intensity. Home care hours often increase. Assisted living can transition into memory care faster than expected. Write down preferred settings: home, assisted, or memory care, because preferences drive cost, staffing, and scheduling realities later. Fund the gap comes next. Decide how much funding comes from cash flow, investments, insurance, and potential family contributions. Cash flow first. Social Security and pensions may cover the baseline. Identify how much incremental monthly funding is truly required. Investments? Pre-select a conservative sleeve to fund care. Label it today so you're not rating Roth growth tomorrow under stress. Insurance? Hybrids can transfer some of the risk while preserving cash value and flexibility. Standalone policies still work for certain health profiles. Taxes matter. Determine which types of accounts fund which years to control brackets, NIIT exposure, and avoid incremental IRMA penalties. Dana? She earmarked one conservative taxable account for care. It didn't change daily life, but it transformed her confidence and family communication. If siblings plan to help, convert that "we'll see" into a written agreement. Amounts, timing windows, and who coordinates receipts and reimbursements. Be sure to automate distributions wherever possible. Pre-authorized periodic transfers prevent high emotional lump sum withdrawals at the worst times. Protecting the plan is our third piece. Keep retirement income architecture intact while care spending temporarily increases. Resequence withdrawals deliberately. Pair the care sleeve with a dynamic portfolio rebalancing so you aren't selling winners or losers blindly. Stay disciplined with your investment policy. Short-term care pressure doesn't justify long-term allocation drift. You're going to regret that later. Coordinate tax planning. Harvest losses or gains intentionally. Schedule conversions around care years. And manage brackets with precision. Liquidity is a policy, not a hunch. Maintain a defined buffer that covers months of care without forcing distressed sales. Stress test survivor scenarios. If one spouse needs care, can the other sustain lifestyle and housing with the remaining income streams? Estate documents? Be sure to confirm powers of attorney, HIPAA releases, and successor trustee mechanics. Funding flows faster when paperwork already exists. Provider logistics. Shortlist facilities and agencies now. Wait lists are real and your future self will thank you for calling early. Communications cadence? Schedule family check-ins quarterly. Clear roles, reduce resentment. Documented updates beat group text chaos every time. The checklist operationalizes this entire framework, turning abstract we shoulds into concrete, ordered steps you can follow. Planning isn't about predicting who needs care. It's about guaranteeing your system works whenever someone actually does need care. And that's how you remain dignity, protect assets, and preserve relationships. The three outcomes families care about more than anything else. Dana's story pivoted from panic to process. With roles, buckets, and timelines defined, decisions became execution rather than negotiation. Her mom received appropriate care without delay. Her dad kept financial independence and his routine, and Dana stayed on track for her retirement. Mapping dollars to duties changes family dynamics. Gratitude replaces guilt because everyone understood expectations before the emotions ran hot. Control doesn't remove uncertainty, it absorbs it. The plan handles volatility so people can focus on caregiving and connection. Even tough choices get easier when they're pre-decided. Which account funds this month becomes a calendar event, not a crisis meeting. When markets wobble, the care sleeve shields your broader portfolio. Shielding decisions were made calmly, not during headline anxiety. That discipline compounds. Avoiding 2 or 3 bad emotional sales can save more than most families realize over time. And the emotional payoff is profound. More time with your parents, fewer late-night spreadsheets, and less second-guessing every single transaction. For many, this is the first time that money and responsibility and love sit peacefully at the same table, and that's a real win. You don't need perfect certainty to feel confident. You need pre-assigned roles, ready dollars, and a process you trust under pressure. Long-term care isn't a someday. It's a part of any serious plan today. So start while decisions are cheap and options remain plentiful. Be sure to download the checklist, What Issues Should I Consider When Planning for Long-Term Care, down in the description. It breaks the work into clear, doable steps. Use it to estimate exposure, pick funding sources, and set decision rules before urgency forces you into expensive compromises. Be sure to walk through it with your family or power of attorney. Confirm preferences, responsibilities, and which dollars fund which scenarios. And when you've completed it, you'll already have the bones of a real plan, not theory, playbook you can actually run. And if you want help tailoring those choices to your taxes, accounts, and timelines, schedule a time with me after you finish the checklist. There's a link in the description to my calendar. We'll translate your answers into funding sequences, provider shortlists, and an investment policy that holds steady through the care years. You'll leave with clarity on cost, confidence in where the money comes from, and control over how care decisions actually happen. So that's how you pay for long-term care without draining your nest egg, with intention, sequence, and a structure that protects both generations. Begin now. Download the checklist below, take 20 minutes, and give your future self a gift to control when it really matters. Thanks for watching.